Hello guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, bringing you my first TV episode review from the original show. And since I picked this DVD up on my last haul, I thought why not, I'll make this my very first video slash episode review. This is Chillogy. It kind of looks like Monster Blood, but it says Chillogy. And there's the back, prove that it's not Monster Blood. They just had to use an existing cover because they didn't have a cover for this. So that's why it looks like Monster Blood. So a little fun fact about Chillogy. Chillogy is 3 episodes from the Goosebumps TV show that were never actually a Goosebumps book or story. And the only other episode that is like Chillogy that you can only get from the show is More Monster Blood. More Monster Blood is not Monster Blood 2, it's a completely different story. So the only way to get that Monster Blood story is also by either streaming it on Netflix or wherever they stream it, or owning the DVD. I don't think they ever made VHSs for either one of these. So if the show ever gets taken off streaming, these DVDs, I think the More Monster Blood and this one definitely will go up because they never made books for them. That's why I own this one. I'm trying to track me down a sealed Monster Blood DVD with More Monster Blood inside. But anyway, let's get into the episode review. What did I think of the episode? So this was the only 3-part episode the original series ever did. And it was written by screenwriters to kind of fit a script into their budget, because at the later life of Goosebumps, the TV show, some of the books were just out of their wheelhouse with budget. The last season they kind of went a little high on the budget, I guess, but for some reason season 3 was completely filled with like tales to give you goosebump books, and they made their own trilogy. I don't know why, but season 3 is definitely the weirdest like season for releases they ever did. But they made a homegrown trilogy, and the story centered around obviously 3 kids: Jessica, Matthew, and Todd. And it all starts when, in the first episode, to kind of give a backstory before we get into what's really going on in the scary aspects of the story. There's this girl named Jessica, and it starts with her, and she's always looking for money. She's always looking for the next thing to make money on. And it shows a scene with her interacting with Matthew and Todd, who are brothers, and they're selling baseball cards. And she lowballs them, gets them to sell them a valuable card, and she puts it away in her, safe, where she holds all of her investments. And she's always tracking her money, and she's always saving, penny pinching. She's very money savvy. So her mom, gets mad at her or something and says, hey, you got to do some chores. So she sends her up to the attic, and they discover this little town called Carlsville. It's like this little miniature model set town. And inside there is a being that runs the town named Carl. And it turns out he's alive. He's an alive figurine that she can't see. So little does she know, she's cleaning up and she hears a phone ring. And she thinks it's her phone. It's not her phone. And she gets sucked into Carlsville, where she interacts with Carl, and Carl gives her an opportunity to make money, and then a bunch of stuff happens. She ends up panicking, trying to leave because she doesn't want to get stuck there, and she ends up finding a way out. And instead of trying to sell the board, the model town, to make her money that she was thinking about doing before she got sucked into the town, she just dumped it. And then the brothers Matthew and Todd find the board, bring it back to their house, and then episodes 2 and 3 are a product of that. And episode 2 focuses more on Matthew's involvement with the town. He's a big baseball fan. He gets sucked into the town, and Carl, of course, meets Matthew and asks him to play a baseball game. And a lot of weird things happen there. He freaks out, finds a way out, he escapes. And before he can figure out what to do, the third episode happens. And then his little brother gets sucked into Carlsville, and he gets like abducted and sent to, I don't want to spoil anything because this is probably the scariest episode. He gets sent to a place, and he's pretty much held there against his will. And Matt and Jessica find each other and realize that Todd's missing, and they have to go back to Carlsville to rescue him. And they go back, and they find him, and the entire town chases them to a specific scene, and then something happens, and then they all leave the town, and they decide to destroy Carlsville. And then the ending of the last episode ends on a cliffhanger with the fate of Carl being up in question. So, yeah, for the most part, I thought this episode had probably the best effects as far as like makeup, prosthetics, costumes. I thought they executed this episode very, very well. I liked the filming style of this episode. It was kind of different. Season 3 has like a different filming style than older Goosebumps episodes, and Season 4 kind of resembles Season 3. This one I definitely think is one of the standout episodes from that season. Even though Season 3, we had One Day at Horrorland, there was Perfect School. There was some really good episodes. Bride of the Living Dummy was a great episode. But this one was always one of my personal favorites because of the effects. And obviously, Carl, if you think about a model town and a being living in the town, obviously you're going to think Beetlejuice. And I definitely think that's where they got the inspiration for this particular story. But it's nothing really like Beetlejuice. Don't let me, what I'm saying, confuse you. It's nothing like Beetlejuice. It's kind of its own thing. But it's a similar premise on a being living in a model set. That's pretty much the only similarity. And Carl, he has this really creepy vibe to him, and it's kind of borderline chilling to have to stare at his face. It's the kind of face that would haunt your nightmares. So yeah, I thought all 3 episodes were really good. I thought the entire story was cool. I really wish that they could make a book for this. I know they probably won't. If they haven't done it by now, they never will. But I really wish there was a book for this, because I think that if there's a book to kind of tie the episodes together a little bit better and give a little more pretext and subtext in there and a little more imagery, I think people would have really loved the book, because this has a really good premise behind for a story. So I thought this was definitely one of the more creative Goosebumps episodes they ever did. So it comes down to ranking, right? If I had to rank this from a 0 to 5 stars, I'm going to give this a above average rating, because I think this is a very exceptional trilogy. It beats a lot of the episodes. Like, honestly, I would put this in the top 10 best episodes for me, personally, because I just really enjoyed it. It's very nostalgic. It takes me back to when I was a young kid. So, an honest review, I'd probably give this a 4.7 out of 5. I think this is a really exceptional episode. If you have Netflix, you pay for the membership, it's completely free to watch. If you're looking on the kind of, I guess, investment side, I hate to use that term, but if you're looking on that perspective, owning the DVD is very smart, because if they ever take it off streaming, this is the only way to get the story. So that was the realistic grade. My personal, like, in my heart grade, I guess, like what I really wanted to give it, I wanted to give it a 5, but it has its flaws. It has its flaws. The maniacalness of Carl is redeeming. The people of Carlsville are pretty interesting. But the problem I have with the trilogy, and this is the main problem, and it deducts 0.1 per episode, is the pacing. It's kind of rushed. It's a very rushed story. It feels like I know they were on a 21-minute time crunch per episode back then. It feels like they needed an additional 9 minutes an episode to really give the story justice, like a solid 30 minutes. But we never got that, so I can't grade on a woulda, coulda, shoulda. I have to grade on what we got. So realistically, a 4.7. So if you've never watched Goosebumps, the classic TV show, I wouldn't say this is a good starting point. I definitely think there's more classic episodes to watch first. I think you should watch Haunted Mass 1 and 2, pretty much all of season 1, the specials. Season 1 and the specials. But mainly Haunted Mass 1 and 2, I would recommend starting there. Because if you don't like that, I don't think you're going to like the heart. Like, that's basically the heart and soul of the Goosebumps show. There are also, you know, some really good episodes. Like, I would recommend maybe Werewolf of Fever Swamp or Stay Out of the Basement. But once you get your palate ready for the show and you feel like you've watched all the specials and you watch some of season 1 to kind of get a feel for the show, then I think you would really appreciate this, because you'll see the effort they put into this episode. And honestly, season 3 and season 1 probably have the best episodes in the entire series, and I'm pretty adamant on that. Season 2 is pretty decent episodes, and like season 4, I think it's only 4 2-parters, and they're all right. They're not like the best, but definitely once you watch a little bit of the classics, like the older episodes, the specials in season 1, try this out. So that was my review of Chillogy. I do have in mind another episode review I might do right after this, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.